Hi everyone, it's Jennifer from Fiberflux. In this video, I will show you how to crochet the Pumpkins on a Fence scarf. This is a really fun scarf for fall, and it's crocheted lengthwise, and the scarf body is brown. We chose brown, and then it has a band of green and then a fun pumpkin edging along the top. For this project, you'll need a 6mm J crochet hook, a tapestry needle, a pair of scissors, and as an option, you can use a ruler or a tape measure if you want to measure your scarf as you're working on it. And the yarn that I use, you can really use any worsted weight yarn for this project. I chose Lion Brand's Heartland. This is the Yosemite, Joshua Tree, and Sequoia colorways. However, feel free to use any kind of orange, green, and brown colorways and brands that you would like. So let's get started. The finished scarf has dimensions of 85 inches long and about 8.5 inches wide. However, I'm going to show you how to change the size if you would like a different length. So let's get started. We're going to begin with our starting chain, and I wanted to talk about that for just a moment. The scarf that I've shown here and on the Fiberflux blog had a length of 85 inches. I achieved that length by making a starting chain of 210. Again, the scarf is crocheted lengthwise, and the rows are worked this way instead of this way. So if you want the same length of 85 inches, then make a starting chain of 210. However, if you'd like your scarf to be longer or shorter, etc., you can make a different starting chain. Just make sure it's a multiple of 3. We're going to make just a sampler size, and we'll make ours in a multiple of 3. That way you can see also how to change the size. However, if you would like these exact dimensions, make a chain of 210. We're going to begin by putting a slip knot on our hook. To make a slip knot, wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop, bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your crochet hook, and bring up the loop. I'm going to make a starting chain of 12 just to give you a sample size. Again, any multiple of 3 will do. To make a chain, wrap yarn around hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So again, I'm just making a sample size. So that would be kind of like a section of the scarf. Okay. If you're not sure if the number you have is a multiple of 3, just divide by 3. So what we're going to do is, in the second chain from the hook, this loop here does not count. So 1, 2, we're going to work a single crochet. To make a single crochet, insert the hook into the chain and bring up a loop. Wrap yarn around hook and bring it through both loops. We're going to work a single crochet in each chain all the way across. Just like that. And this is, again, this is why I chose to make a smaller section, so you don't have to see me make 210 or so single crochets. So just going to work all the way across. Okay, and then just put a single crochet in the last chain as well. Okay, so it'll look kind of like that. In the next row, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3, and turn our work. Then we're going to skip this first stitch here, and in the next stitch, because this turning chain is going to count as our double crochet, so we're going to skip that, and then in the next chain we'll work a double crochet. To make a double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert the hook into the stitch, bring up a loop, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. We'll work a double crochet in each stitch across, very similarly to the previous row, just like that. Okay, and this is, again, the double crochet row. Okay, our little tail's getting wrapped in there. Okay, so then you'll also do a double crochet in that little stitch at the end as well. Sometimes it gets a little bit buried. Okay, so this row is complete. Then we're going to move on to the next row. To move on to row 3, we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Turn our work. Again, this turning chain counts as a treble crochet in this case, so we're going to skip this first stitch and move on to the next stitch. To make a treble crochet, wrap yarn around hook 2 times, insert the hook into the stitch, bring up a loop. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the next 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops, and then we'll do this all the way across the row, 1 treble crochet in each stitch. And as you can see, the treble crochet stitches are very, very tall, and that will help give your scarf some height very quickly. So again, we're just working a treble crochet in each stitch all the way across. And then you'll just work a treble crochet in each stitch to the end of the row. And then also in that turning chain, the top of the turning chain. Okay, so that completes row 3. To continue with the brown section of your scarf, you're going to repeat rows 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, for a total of 3 times to get the same look here. However, if you want your scarf to be a little narrower or a little wider, you can repeat rows 1 through 3 as many times as you like. I did a total of 3 repeats. So I did 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay? Once you get the brown part as large as you like it to be, you can fasten off the brown. And then we're going to move on to this green section right at the top. Okay, so we have our green yarn. And all you're going to do is tie the green yarn right on. So just insert your hook into this stitch here that we ended up with. Bring the green yarn through. And then you can just tie it right on. To make life a lot easier, we're going to weave the ends in as we go. So what you're going to do is reach in with your crochet hook into that stitch, bring up a loop, then we're going to chain 2. 1, 2, and then turn our work. If you want to weave the ends in as you go along, you can take these tails and kind of hold them along this top edge as you work your stitches. So next we're going to, in this first stitch, we're going to work a half double crochet. To make a half double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert the hook into the stitch, bring up a loop, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through all 3 loops on the hook. And again, we're weaving these in as we go along. So then you're just going to work a half double crochet in each stitch all the way across. And when you're weaving ends as you go, sometimes it can be a little cumbersome to hold everything together, but it'll save you a lot of work in the end. So again, we're just working a half double crochet in each stitch all the way across. And that is going to give us this green area in which the pumpkins are going to eventually sit on top of on our fence. Okay, and then in this last stitch here, you'll also work a half double crochet. So it will look kind of like that. To continue, we're going to work one more row of half double crochet stitches, but before I go forward, we're going to give these little ends that we wove in, give those a little tug, and then take your scissors, trim, and then you can kind of just straighten everything out here. We're going to work one more row of green. To move on to the next row, chain 2, 1, 2, turn your work, and then in each stitch across, you're going to work a half double crochet. The same exact way we did the previous row. So just work a half double crochet in each stitch across. And not only does this green set of rows provide a nice color contrast to the pumpkins that are going to come next, but it also gives it a nice sturdy edge in which to work the stitches. Okay, so it'll look kind of like that. It has a lot of texture with all these different stitches as well. Okay, so then you're going to fasten off the green yarn because we're going to be moving on to this pumpkin row. So you can go ahead and fasten off, and then we'll move on to the orange. To work the pumpkin row of this pattern, we're going to grab our orange yarn. We're going to do the same thing. Reach into that last stitch with your crochet hook. Pull the orange yarn through, and then we're just going to simply tie it right on. For this row, you can weave the ends in as you go along, or you can weave them in later. I'm going to weave them in later for this particular row because I want to have more control of how the ends go through the pumpkins. But it's totally up to you. You can try both if you like. So just reach in again to this stitch, bring up a loop, chain 1, and turn. And we'll get these ends out of the way. In the same stitch, you're going to work a single crochet. In the next stitch, you'll work a single crochet. And now you're ready to make the first pumpkin. To make a pumpkin, work a slip stitch, insert the hook into the stitch, bring up a loop, bring this loop through the loop already on your hook. Next, you'll work a double crochet into the same stitch, and then a treble crochet into the same stitch. Then you'll chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And in the third chain from the hook, this loop here does not count. 1, 2, 3, you'll work a slip stitch. This is what is going to create the stem of the pumpkin. Next, you'll work a treble crochet into the same stitch. Again, all these are in the same stitch. Let's get some more yarn here. Then we'll work a double crochet into the seam stitch. And then a slip stitch into the seam stitch. And that will create, you can shape it up a little pumpkin, just like the ones we have here, okay? So let's do this one more time. You're going to be repeating the sequence all the way across. So single crochet, pumpkin, single crochet, pumpkin, okay? So let's do this one more time. Work a single crochet in the next stitch, a single crochet in the next stitch, then we're ready for our pumpkin. Work a slip stitch, a double crochet, a treble crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, work a slip stitch in the third chain from the hook, 1, 2, 3, work a slip stitch right in there, then work a treble crochet. Again, this is pumpkin, is all in the same stitch, a double crochet, and a slip stitch to finish your pumpkin off, okay? So now you have 2 little pumpkins sitting on your fence. So you're just going to repeat this all the way to the end. Before we weave in our ends, I just wanted to talk for a minute about the pumpkin row. When we began, we worked in multiples of 3. However, if you're working your scarf and you have an extra stitch or 2 in there, that's okay. Sometimes our stitch numbers can get off, and that happens. What you can do is you can just skip over a stitch and keep going, or you can just work an extra single crochet in between one of these, and it'll kind of blend in. I did a little experimentation with that. As long as it's not too many stitches, you'll be okay, and it'll blend in pretty well. So let's go back to our little sample here. I'm going to show you how to weave in one of the ends. You may, depending on if you wove the ends in as you went along, you'll have lots of ends or just a few. So you're just going to thread a tapestry needle and then just come in one direction with your tapestry needle. And then you can just come in the other direction, and that will lock that little tail into place. Then you can take your your scissors, trim that end, and your end will be woven in. Repeat that for the rest of the ends, and your scarf will be complete. So that is how you make the pumpkins on a fence scarf. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to click the red subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.